Hey, you! What are you doing down there? Are you in the gutter? No? Are you in a rut? No? What are you saying to yourself? What? You're not enough? Not enough what? Not rich enough? Not good looking enough? Not tall enough? Are you too serious? Or too intense? One of those twos. You fill in the blank. Which two are you? Stop it. Stop dumbing yourself down. Oh, you're not in the gutter. There you are. You're down here. You're up here. Ah, that's better. It's your time to shine. Yes. Oh, got a little technical glitch here. Oh well. Let me see if I can. All right. When I was growing up in West Virginia, there was a little suburb outside of Huntington, out in the boondocks, called Wayne County. And a lot of the people from there, had a certain dialect that was all their own. Mine was a country girl dialect, not Southern, not Texan, West Virginia country girl. But these people from Wayne County had a different dialect all their own. It was a small little suburb area. And it was like, I was almost embarrassed for them. And at times I've almost been embarrassed for me, because it just, like, some people seem to pride themselves on their hickishness. I am not one of those people. And when I was younger, I was so heavily influenced and motivated and inspired by teacher movies and counselor movies, but teacher movies like Lean on Me and Stand and Deliver and To Sir with Love and My Fair Lady, Freedom Writers, Finding Forrester, even Dead Poet Society. And in those movies, I would see these people who were very poised and articulate would take these at-risk children who hadn't had the same opportunities, who maybe had a more challenging upbringing than some of us, hadn't had some of the opportunities that others had, and so they were at risk for dropping out of school for various reasons. And the teachers would take them and teach them manners and respect and how to speak and how to be poised. And one of the things that they found in the research, that for success in the world, in our human world, one of the things that is a factor in that is the ability to communicate. So it's no small thing. And then when I was in college, at one point I majored in radio, television broadcasting, and I took a voice and diction class. And they were telling us that most of the broadcasters, news broadcasters, are from the Midwest. They don't have a dialect or an accent, so to speak. And so they got on my case about mispronouncing words like roof. I was pronouncing it roof, I think. At any rate, I really wanted to improve. I really wanted to elevate myself out of that. And I really hanging with people who pull me higher, to a higher way of being, and who call me on when I mispronounce a word or say it in a word that it's not quite right. I've had a great desire to improve my vocabulary and my diction and all of that. So in the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, One of the agreements is be impeccable with your word. And that means speaking with integrity, with honesty, and with truthfulness. Say only what you mean, and say those things that indicate only what you desire to see in your life. Not saying things that you don't really desire to see. I'll talk more about that. Avoid using words to speak negatively about yourself or others, or to gossip about others. And use your words in a positive direction of truth and love. That's what Don Miguel Ruiz has to say in the 4 Agreements, his book, Be Impeccable with Your Word. It's no small thing, and somehow I realized that at a young age. Don Miguel Ruiz even goes on to say that your words are magic. And he says you can either use them for white magic or black magic. And to him, white magic would be when you use your words to create good in the world. When you use your words to speak of what you desire, truly desire, that which is joyful. Or black magic, he defines as words that are used to create chaos, to spread negativity, that feel bad, that are out of alignment, out of integrity with yourself. And since thoughts and words are choices, for me, learning how to speak on purpose, consciously, deliberately creating what I desire in this world, articulately, and with better command of the English language and vocabulary, it's been and still is of immense, tremendous value in my life. Charles Fillmore talks about human race consciousness. There's a mediocrity in our consciousness. I don't want that. Do you? To me, if you're going to do something, if you're not going to do a good job at it, then what's the point in doing it? And I've always had that mentality. No mediocrity. No. Words matter. Words do matter. I know. Some people say, oh, words don't really mean anything. They don't have meaning in of themselves. That's true. Let me talk about that more in a minute. Eric Butterworth, a famous Unity minister and writer, in his book Practical Metaphysics, said we give little thought, little attention to our words. Most of us, most of the time. We take our speech for granted. And when we were learning to speak when we were little, we just took it on through no conscious effort because people were teaching us how to speak. And we were picking it up by listening and modeling. And if you didn't have good modeling, if you didn't have parents who had a good vocabulary and hadn't grown up with that kind of modeling, then, maybe you didn't learn it the way some people do. But by the time we're old enough to understand this strange and powerful, wonderful noises we call speech, it becomes simply reflex behavior like breathing or eating or whatever. Just say whatever you say. And if it's true, and they say, whoever they are, that speech is the art. Speech and the art of communication are good manners. It's considered good manners, at least in social situations. And this perpetual babble of nothings that we sometimes get caught up in, words that we utter that are not constructive, not effective, do they add to the world situation in a negative way or in a more effective, positive, constructive way? We need to think about that. The nutritionists have an axiom that says, you are what you eat. Well, same could be said with words.
So, we might agree with Jesus' rather startling words. It's not that which enters into the mouth that defiles the human, but which comes out of the mouth. That's in Matthew 15, verse 11. That comes out of your mouth is more important than that goes in. Oh, wow. So, shall we agree to maybe it would be a good idea to fast from negative words? Maybe. And Jesus also said in Matthew 12, verse 36, "And I say unto you that every idle word that you shall speak, they should give account thereof at judgment day." You know what? That verse has been totally misunderstood. We've had the idea that the day of judgment refers to when the roll is called up yonder. You come up before God and the big book black says, "Well, now, you said some terrible things down there." No, this isn't it at all. It's not a point in time. It's not a point of reckoning. It's constant. Every day is a day of judgment. The day of judgment in terms of your words is when you pay the piper. Oh, if you make a negative statement such as, "Every time it rains, I catch my death of cold." Well, then what happens? You catch the cold, and that's the day of judgment for you. You get results in the body of words idly spoken. Oh boy, words have power. You know what's amazing to me is in metaphysics, which is new thought, unity certainly, there's a tendency to talk about the power of thought, the work of our subconscious mind, and those are important and helpful. But what seems to be overlooked very often is speech, the power of speech. I mean, yeah, a person may deal with truths of mystic power and still allow a steady stream of negations fall unchecked from these lips. It's like driving your car with your brakes on. You can do it, but it's not very effective, and you may burn out your brakes. And I have to mention, it's not very energy efficient either. So what are you going to do? So let's say we have a problem. So we pray and we affirm we affirm a positive affirmation about our problem diligently and repeatedly. And then we think that whatever we do the other 10,000 times doesn't even count. We say, affirmation, "I'm a child of God, one with life, full of vitality, full of spirit, now." And then 10 minutes later, I sure do feel pooped. Our subconscious mind does not discriminate from causal, what we say causes, or casual words or thoughts. We insist we're kidding when we say, "Oh, that just burns me up," or some similar cliche. But you know what? The subconscious mind cannot take a joke. It somehow registers all the consciousness and thinks it's all the same. Speaking of cliches, got a joke for you. At the end of the day, a cliche walks into a bar. Fresh as a daisy, cute as a button, and sharp as a tack. Talk about cliches. Sharp as a tack. So we assume that the only thing that counts in terms of this power of words is when we're sitting silent in the silence, in a quiet place, with our truth spiritual books in front of us. Oh, I got this. It's like when you leave church and you go home and you take off your Sunday go to meeting clothes. Oh, there I go back to my childhood. Back to your normal vernacular, four-letter words, and all the cliches that are so much a part of everyday speech. And we think and assume those don't count. They do count. We need to practice every moment of being intentional, being conscious of what we're saying. All words speak. All the words we speak, even the ones that are idle. It just does not make good sense to put into words that which you really don't want to see manifest in your life. Think about the typical conversations, the typical expressions when we're in a state of exasperation, or moments when we're off guard, or moments when we're not poised. The things we say, the things we haven't the slightest desire to really see manifest in our life, we go on saying them anyway. It's like Russian roulette. Every once in a while, the bullet comes into the chamber. Pow! How could this happen to me? I don't deserve this. But think about it. In this sense, you kind of do. Since we are such verbal creatures, constantly involved in communication with each other, wouldn't you say it's vitally important, as Proverbs says in Psalms 141, verse 3, to set thou a seal upon these lips? Watch the words that come out of our mouths. Most of us are verbally permissive. Those habits, those patterns of speech run deep. The list of cliches that run around in our brains and that come out automatically without any conscious thought on our part. The habit patterns of speech that we utter over and over and over again. If we could just record our words and then listen for a day, oh my goodness. Think about what it would sound like, what it might sound like. We'd be shocked. So, I say, let something good be said. And it begins with you. You have to decide. But if we continue to complain about it, to see how awful people are, we're just as much a part of the problem as those we think are doing all the dirty work. It's one or the other. Make up your mind. Sometimes we say, I'm a child of God, healthy and whole now. It's almost as if we're saying, hey, I'm doing pretty good. I can really say I'm fine. Oh, we puff out our chests. And it's something we've learned to say. And we feel so very good about ourselves. I got this affirmation. And I say it over and over. I'm so proud of myself. Hey, I'm really saying some positive words here. This metaphysics is real neat. If I just say this over and over, something great's going to happen. I've learned to say my affirmations. This is a step in the right direction, but it is not the key. Yeah, words in of themselves have no power, but they can be imbued with power. And affirmations, same thing. They have no power unless we imbue them with power. There's no point in saying over and over again an affirmation or a set of words or a cliche as if we're going to make something happen. if we say it over and over, we're going to make it happen. No, we say it reverently. We say these words, these prayers, these cliches, these affirmations. If we really believe the cliches, we say them reverently and quietly in the corner of our consciousness. And we say, it's not my word, but it's the words of the one who sent me. Let something good be said. Allow those words to flow like a water faucet. Not repetitiously. Jesus said to avoid vain repetitions. I don't care how many times you speak it. In fact, don't speak it at all. Just think it. But the point is, be in tune with that creative flow from your divine source. Then it has power because it's imbued from a power on high. We're not dealing with just the word, but with the consciousness behind the word. You get that, don't you? Yes. If we're serious about the power of the spoken word, and I know you get that too, that words are powerful, they matter. If we're serious about dressing up our speech, then we'll express ourselves, okay, without profanity. Okay, I'm not being moralistic here, and I'm not saying that you never say a cuss word. Okay, you're probably saying, here goes the preacher meddling again. Not that at all. People say, oh, just tell it like it is. Let it all hang out. Well, what do we mean by that? Let all the dirty laundry hang out? Let all the dirty words just come out, whatever they're going to be, without any conscious attention to what those words are and what they're bringing back to us, what the energy we're putting out there and that comes back to us as a result? It's not simply a matter of the four-letter words misrepresenting you and maybe reflecting on you poorly. Whether we like it or not, we are in an image-based society. And in My Fair Lady, she was a woman of the streets, not a prostitute, but she was a street lady. And it reflected on her poorly, and he taught her to articulate. She slurred her speech so much you couldn't even understand what she was saying. It reflects poorly and does not represent who you really are. And it turns out they did a bunch of studies on this, in-depth studies, and they found that a low level of vocabulary led to poor communication. The study found that people who use profanity excessively, okay, that's what we're talking, excessively, people who say things like, know what I mean? Do not have the words they needed to really articulate what they wanted to say. Like the movie Meet the Millers. They were saying, I was cracking up the other night. Know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm even doing that right. Or sometimes we say, you know what I'm trying to say, don't you? No, they don't know what you're trying to say because you're thinking one thing and they're thinking something else. So in the research they found that among this kind of person was the greatest degree of violence. Yes. People who can't communicate their needs will often resort to violence. When they can't say the words, the things in words that they need and value and feel, they turn to using fists and clubs. Startling. Ridiculous, you might say. They did a serious amount of study. Something to think about. Is it important, the need to dress up our speech, to articulate in a way that says the things that communicates what we really want to say, that say who we really are down deep inside, that reflect us. We brush up our speech. We brush up our mannerisms. Profanity, though, lacks the spark that's necessary for happiness and health and prosperity. It's something to think about. And you may take this with a grain of salt, but hey, I'm throwing it out there as a vital part of your happiness and your health and your finances. Dress up your words. Put a dress on them. On your intonations, on your voice. When you dial a number of a person who says, hello, 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 in a dour tone, how would you say that? What kind of life does that seem to suggest? What kind of self-image does that seem to indicate? And it might not be indicative of all or of who they really are. Paying attention to that sort of thing. And how would you project yourself if you really did feel that you are in the divine flow of love, divine life, in the flow of divine life, alive, alert, joyous, enthusiastic? Maybe we should consider setting a watchful eye on our lips. As Paul said, stirring up the gift of God within us, dressing up our speech, prepare ourselves for all communication with prayer. Prayer. Listen within. Identify with that inner light, that inner God, that inner spirit, that inner soul. Then, with a glow on your face and a sparkle in your eyes, communicate enthusiasm in your manner and your tone. Let something good be said. Let the positive power within you be projected into your words. Get the idea of communicating with people and in situations on a one-to-one basis. The one, the dynamic divinity, the dynamic divinity within me salutes the dynamic divinity within you, relates to the dynamic divinity within you, does business with the one, the dynamic divinity within you, the one, one-on-one. Your words then will be part of the divine flow, and they will never then get in the way. Even metaphysical words can get in the way if expressed by rote. I may not really understand what I'm saying, but if I say them enough, something's going to happen. Something great's going to happen. Let positive power be expressed through you in all that you do. Discipline yourself to say the kinds of things you want to see manifest in your life. Okay, let's go on a diet. Want to? 7-day verbal diet. Go on a fast. Carefully choose the kinds of words that we express. Think before we speak. Listen to ourselves before we articulate. No negative cliches. No profanity. No words that have no meaning whatsoever. No words that have negative meaning. In this positive flow, things will take place in a marvelous way. It will change the vibrational patterns that will influence your whole life in a miraculous way. Are you willing? 7-day verbal diet. Maya Angelou says, when you know you are of worth, not asking it, but knowing it. You walk into a room with a particular power. When you know you are of worth, you don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to become rude. And you don't have to become vulgar. Stop, stop, stop dumbing yourself down. It is your time to shine. The words I speak are not my words, but the words of the one with a capital O, but the words of the one who sent me. I allow these words to flow forth through me in faith, in love, keeping a seal on my lips, saying only those things positive, creative, in a loving, harmonious way. Let something good be said. Let's make an acronym for that. LSGBS. Somebody write that in the comment section. Capital L, capital S, capital G, capital B, capital S. Let something good be said. With animation. Say it with animation. And go forth. Introducing a couple of songs by Heart Dream with Mary By and Steve Bangs. They're out of Walnut Creek. Heart Dream. First song is One.